All right, hey everybody, I'm back. This is Coach G, and we're here with Photoshop this time. It's been pretty much a year since the last tutorial video, but I, noticed some recent comments where people were asking me to not quit and keep making these training videos. So I wanted to start back with a simple tutorial, but just something to, get your feet wet in Photoshop. I'm not going to start from like the total noob level of Photoshop. I'm going to start at a, somewhat advanced, if you will, level. But I apologize if you hear any random cat noise in the background because Leroy is acting weird and he's hungry. Also, I'm at a totally new location, so hopefully the audio checks out fine. I know I'm rambling about stuff that has nothing to do with the tutorial right now, but who cares, because I don't want to make it a boring thing. So what I want to do is teach you how to make this text appear as it is right here on screen, which is spelled out for you, glass. It kind of looks like a glass effect, right? And if you look in the layers panel right here, you can see that there's effect applied to it, applied to the text, that is. And just simple steps can get you this look really quick and easy. And we're gonna do that for this return to the tutorials. So let's get started. What I'm gonna do first is make a completely new file. Just make it, we'll make it a vertical 8x10, and that's fine. Defaulted to a white background. We're gonna make it a gradient. So if you wanna know how to make a gradient, over here with our tools, you can see you can press the keyboard shortcut G, and that'll activate this tool, or you could simply just come over here and click on it like I did. I know I'm breaking this down at a very basic level, but that's okay because we're all at different stages of learning Photoshop. So I'm gonna also hold while I click that, and I can see that within this tool, I have my paint bucket tool, and there's a 3D material drop tool. But if I just click on the paint bucket tool, and you see these two colors right here where my mouse is hovering over, these are two color options. The one up top that's highlighted black would actually apply to the background if I clicked on the specific layer that was activated. So again, that's just your paint bucket tool. So I can click on that and I'll get my color picker for my foreground color, because my foreground is again selected as black. The background would be white, but you just can click over here and have a blue background if you want. If I want a pink one, I could change my picker to a specific hue of pink. So I could just apply it like that by a few simple clicks. But like I said, we'll throw a gradient on, and when I click the gradient tool, if I go up top, I can click on that and I have my gradient editor. And in my gradient editor, I have presets that are already kind of like pre-built for you. And if you go online, you can kind of find some, like I did right here from Texture Labs, that is already a pre-made gold gradient. Just by clicking on it, you can see the different effect styles it has. But I also have others that are preset where this blue is kind of, it's kind of nice, so we'll go with that. I'll just click that. This is, again, if I wanted to customize it, I could just click a, option right here and change the color up. If I wanted white to be in the middle of that gradient, if I want another part of the gradient to be affected, I could click right there. That'll activate another little portion of it. Maybe I want it for some reason green over there. And now I have this really weird gradient, and I just went on a total tangent about gradients, but basically you can see that custom gradient I made. If I click and hold on my layer, on this background layer, that's the direction the gradient's gonna go. So I went from top left to bottom right, and that's what I got. If I go from the left to right, you're gonna see the way the gradient changes. So you see that. And also if I shorten the amount like that, you see it's much shorter. Look what happens. If I lengthen the amount of the gradient, that's what happens. So I could literally go from way off screen to over here, and this is what you're gonna get. So think about that when you select the gradient, because that one was a awful gradient. So I'm going back to my presets. I'm just gonna use, again, the default one, and we can go left to right. We can go right to left, however we want, whatever looks best. This is not the most important part of the tutorial. I'm just giving you a quick rundown of gradients. So what I want to do now is actually get to the heart of this tutorial, and that is working with text and changing it by using bevels, glows, and drop shadows to activate a piece of text that looks like glass. All right, so when I click on the type tool, I got my horizontal type tool. The keyboard shortcut is T. So we're just gonna not go off the deep end and look at all these other options. We're just using our horizontal type tool. I mean, you could use vertical type if you wanted, but we're just gonna go ahead and click on screen. Default text appears. Arial Black is the font. You can see up here, you have Arial Black selected. I could click this drop down and have a number of different options that I've downloaded for fonts. I mean, it's like thousands of fonts I have, but font selection is not important right now. We have, of course, if there was other options for Arial Black, we would have had them right there if it was italics or something like that. Font size, you can change font size a number of different ways. That's what's good about Photoshop, is you can do the same thing many different ways, but it's at 60 right now. Some of these preset points are set already. If I wanted 30, it'll be much lower. But if I just had it deselected and I clicked on my move tool, I could just go to one of these corners and drag without warping or distorting text and increase the size like that. I can also double click on the layer to activate it and go back in here, and I can type a specific number like 120, and this will be much larger text by pressing enter. Obviously this is falling off of our artboard, so we want to, you know, make it smaller. I will click and drag and it's much smaller. I'm gonna just type in the word glass, G-L-A-S-S. Now the color that I've selected is whatever we set, that pinkish purple initially. For this tutorial, it's not really gonna matter, but I'm just showing you different ways on this color picker to change the color of text if you were curious. But now the text is white. I'm gonna increase this size and just bring it to the middle of the artboard. If you look in the layers panel, glass is selected. The fill, which is this white color, that is what the fill is. It's set at 100%. For our blending mode right now, it's just normal. There's, you know, blending modes, this is overlay, so it's gonna kind of, you know, overlay on the gradient that we have for our background, and the text, the way it appears gets affected that way. You can kind of see it is affected by this lighter side and this darker side of the gradient, but our text, again, just needs to be normal. I'm just getting completely distracted showing you a whole bunch of different tools. Again, our main goal, let's get back on track, and that is to make this look like glass. So first thing I want to do, and you don't have to do this first, you could take the fill down after you apply the effects, but I like to take the fill down to 0 just for this. Make sure the layer is selected, or else you're not going to be able to activate this layer style. You see we've got blending options. I'm going to first activate bevel and emboss, and you can already see, even though despite the fact that the fill is at 0, you're starting to see things pop up. So what you're seeing right now is the bevel, and I'm gonna reset everything to default. So this would be the default bevel that's initially in your system for Photoshop. I want to first make sure that it's set for the technique to be smooth. The depth I want to have at, we'll lower it down to 63%. Direction is up. Size, we'll have the size of this bevel at 27 pixels. and we'll just soften it a bit to 2. The angle, we'll change it to like 130. We'll use global light, and altitude won't really get affected much, just 37%. Again, you're going to have maybe a different font, and maybe the effect's going to, apply differently. So you might not be set in stone with these options I'm using. This just happens to work for this specific font. And, for the most part, it's probably going to work for yours too. But feel free to adjust if you want it a little bit higher on the sides. Go ahead, just see what works for you. Gloss contour, you can see if you click that arrow, a number of different options. I think so you can see what happens when you select some of them. What worked best, I believe, was this ring. But I want to show you some other available options. So you can see, as creative as you want, you can get there. Cone gives you a really good effect. So it's kind of subjective. Whatever works. I'm gonna play around with cone because I haven't really used cone in this effect before, but it looks all right. We've got some other highlight mode and shadow mode right here. I just want to adjust the opacity. It's set at screen white, and we'll put it to 80%. 10% for the shadow mode will be fine. And I don't know right now if I fully like that. That's more what I'm going for. As a matter of fact, that's pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it back with what I stuck with initially, which is this ring. Either one of these look pretty good, but you're the one creating the effect, so it's up to you to experiment. I think I'm going. I changed my mind. I can't make up my mind. So ring double will be fine. We'll just mess around with that. So that's the first thing, is the bevel. We've applied all the adjustments to that effect, that blending effect, and we want to go to inner glow now. If you look down here, you can apply an effect by clicking the little checkbox right next to it. I'll reset everything to default, and you'll be able to see how things adjust as I mess around with some of the stuff. 30% opacity. The choke is going to be 13%, and the size will be 16 pixels. All right. And again, we've got another contour adjustment we can mess around with, and you can see. Again, I'm showing you every single option. That is very nice. That looks cool right there. That's what happens. You can just find many different effects and adjust it to your liking. But I'm gonna go with, we'll just leave it at that. 50% range, 0% jitter. Let's take the inner glow off. You can see it's the subtle effect that inner glow has, but it can make all the difference in the world if you take the time to adjust an effect and experiment. Once you start to get comfortable with these, you'll be able to quickly understand and realize the effects you need to apply to make certain things creatively. And so we'll leave that inner glow on. Lastly, I have 3 drop shadows, but I'm just going to select one, and I'll reset everything to default. So the drop shadow, again, is another subtle but important effect. So the blend mode, we'll just keep it at normal. And opacity, 7%. This is going to be an extremely subtle change, but 133 for the angle. of the light source. And distance will be 11 pixels. Spread will be 13%, and size 0 pixels. I mean, it's going to be a minimal change. You see, I mean, it's just a slight, you see right there, that little drop shadow. Very, very slight. But, I mean, if that doesn't match what you want to do, what you're looking for on this effect for whatever reason you're creating it, you can adjust things. Look at that. You just slide the opacity over. You can bring the text out, bring the effect out more. I just happened to be experimenting before and use these settings, and you know what? I'm going to go with something like this just to change things up, because I've been able to, you know, adjust to my needs what I like, and that's fine right there. So that's the effect. I would just click OK, and it applies, and here we go. And again, if I wanted to increase it, I could simply drag it up. And if I wanted to double click this and change my font, I can. I will try to select a font that is free to use, that does not look horrible. So let's see. Block letter looks horrible, but the effect is still applied. The point in me showing you that was that if you change the font, the effect will stay with it. And that is glass text right there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that tutorial gave you some insight on adjusting text and, you know, being creative with the glass effect. This is something that maybe if you were designing some sort of advertisement for Windows or literally glasses, you might apply this effect on some text in that ad. So let me know what you think. If you found this helpful, if you have questions, leave some comments. I will be like those people on my return here on this return video and say, make sure you like and subscribe to Coach G World on YouTube, because I will try my best to keep this channel active, even though it's been 1 whole year. But just like Cody Rhodes returned to the WWE for WrestleMania, I'm back on YouTube, and this is the 6th video of all time for Coach G World, and hopefully it's not the last. All right, peace out.